History class taught us about kings, wars, and revolutions. But what if I told you some of the most fascinating events never made it into our textbooks? What if I told you about a massive explosion in Siberia that flattened 80 million trees, or a ship that mysteriously disappeared only to be found years later with no crew in sight? Buckle up, because today we're diving into 8 historical events so strange and captivating, you'll wonder why you never learned about them in school. Starting things off, at number 8, did you know about one of the biggest mysteries in modern history, the Tunguska Event of 1908? It's a bizarre and terrifying incident that most schools never teach us about. On June 30th, deep in the remote Siberian wilderness, a massive explosion rocked the skies over the Tunguska River. Witnesses miles away reported seeing a fireball as bright as the sun and feeling the ground shake violently. The blast flattened over 800 square miles of forest, an area larger than New York City, and shattered windows hundreds of miles away. But here's where things get really weird. Despite the colossal destruction, no crater was ever found. Scientists today believe that it was caused by a space rock, possibly a comet or meteorite, exploding in the atmosphere with the energy of 10 to 15 megatons of TNT, hundreds of times more powerful than the bomb dropped on Hiroshima. Yet, back in 1908, it took decades for researchers to reach the site, leaving the event shrouded in mystery and sparking wild theories. From alien spacecraft to Nikola Tesla's experiments gone wrong. Why didn't we learn this in school? Maybe because it's a powerful reminder of how vulnerable Earth is to cosmic forces we can't control. Next time you look up at the sky, remember, the Tunguska event was real, and it could happen again. Coming up next, at number 7, imagine a ghost ship drifting silently through the Atlantic. Its crew vanished without a trace. That's the eerie story of the Mary Celeste. In 1872, this merchant ship was found abandoned near the Azores, perfectly seaworthy, with supplies for 6 months and cargo undisturbed. Yet, not a soul remained on board. Here's where the mystery deepens. There were no signs of a struggle, no evidence of a pirate attack, and bizarrely, the crew's personal belongings were left behind. The lifeboat was missing, but why would experienced sailors abandon a perfectly safe vessel? Theories run wild, from a violet waterspout forcing a hasty escape, to crew madness from tainted food, or even supernatural forces. Some even suspect the sea itself conspired against them, but no theory quite fits the puzzle, and that's what makes the Mary Celeste one of history's most spine-chilling enigmas. Up next, at number 6, imagine a library so vast, it held the knowledge of the ancient world. The Library of Alexandria, once the greatest repository of wisdom, burned to the ground in the 3rd century BCE. We've all heard the story, right? But here's the twist. Some survivors of the fire may have escaped, not just in the form of books, but in people. Legend has it, a secret group of scholars managed to save precious scrolls and manuscripts from the flames. These intellectuals went into hiding, passing down their knowledge through generations. But what if their survival wasn't just a story? Some believe that these secret survivors may have influenced history in ways we've never been taught. What if hidden teachings survived in ancient texts, disguised as mythology, waiting to be rediscovered? Why haven't schools taught us this? Because the truth is, some secrets are far too powerful to reveal. So next time you think about the Library of Alexandria, remember, the fire didn't burn everything. Some knowledge may have lived on, hidden just out of sight. Up next, at number 5, have you ever wondered what happened to the legendary lost treasure of the Knights Templar? This isn't something they teach in school, but it's a mystery that has captured imaginations for centuries. The Knights Templar were a powerful medieval order of warrior monks, amassing immense wealth through banking and treasure from their crusades. But in 1307, King Philip IV of France, deep in debt to the Templars, orchestrated their downfall. The king arrested Templar members and pressured the Pope to disband the order. But when his soldiers stormed Templar strongholds, something curious happened. The treasure was gone. Where did it disappear to? Some claim it was smuggled away to secret locations across Europe. Others believe it was hidden in distant places, like the famous Oak Island in Nova Scotia, or even buried under landmarks like the Rosslyn Chapel. Rumors swirl about vast troves of gold, ancient relics, and even the Holy Grail. Yet despite centuries of searching, no one has found definitive proof. Theories abound, but the truth, it remains a tantalizing enigma. Imagine if one of history's greatest treasures is still out there, hidden, waiting to be discovered. And who knows, maybe you could be the one to find it. What do you think happened to the Templars' lost fortune? Halfway there, at number 4, did you know there are entire ghost towns hidden deep in the Amazon rainforest, built during a time of booming dreams and spectacular collapse? Welcome to the forgotten world of the rubber boom ghost towns. In the late 19th and early 20th centuries, the Amazon basin was the global center of rubber production. This black gold fueled a frenzy as European and American companies poured in to extract fortunes from the region's rubber trees. Towns sprang up almost overnight, complete with lavish opera houses, grand mansions, and bustling markets. Manaus, for instance, was so wealthy it had electric streetlights before most of Europe. But this prosperity had a dark underbelly. Indigenous workers were brutally exploited, subjected to forced labor, and often died in shocking numbers. Then, as suddenly as it began, the bubble burst. British smuggler Henry Wickham had secretly taken rubber tree seeds to British colonies in Asia, and plantations there soon outcompeted the Amazon. The thriving towns fell silent. Abandoned buildings were swallowed by the jungle, leaving eerie remnants of a Gilded Age turned to ruin. Up next, at number 3, picture this. Boston, January 15, 1919. The city was hit by a disaster so bizarre, it sounds like something out of a cartoon. A giant tank holding over 2 million gallons of molasses suddenly burst, sending a wave of sticky, sweet destruction crashing through the streets at a terrifying 35 miles per hour. The molasses wall was over 25 feet high and powerful enough to destroy buildings, sweep people off their feet, and derail a train. People and animals caught in the wave were trapped, struggling to breathe as the thick syrup solidified. It was an unimaginable nightmare. 21 people lost their lives, and over 150 were injured. The cleanup took months and left the area smelling like molasses for years. So why did this happen? The tank had been poorly constructed, and the owners had ignored dangerous signs of leaking. The disaster led to major changes in building safety regulations, and even a massive legal battle, which was one of the first cases of a corporation being held responsible for negligence. Yet, most of us never learn about this in school. Why? Maybe it's because it doesn't fit into the typical textbook narrative. Coming up next, at number 2, have you ever heard of the dance plague of 1518? It's one of history's strangest events. Picture this. In July 1518, a woman named Frau Troffe in Strasbourg, modern-day France, began dancing uncontrollably in the street. She couldn't stop. Days passed, and more people joined her, dancing without rest, driven to exhaustion, injury, and even death from sheer fatigue. By the end of the month, hundreds of people were caught in this bizarre, involuntary dance craze. City officials were baffled, desperate to stop the madness. Their solution? They hired musicians, thinking more music would cure the dancers. But it only fueled the chaos. Theories abound, from mass hysteria to ergot poisoning, a hallucinogenic mold on rye bread. But the truth remains a mystery. It's an eerie reminder of the mind's power over the body and how strange and unpredictable history can be. And at last but not least, you've probably never heard about the day the United States almost started a war over a tree. Yep, it was 1976, and tensions between North and South Korea were already at a boiling point. But then, a poplar tree at the DMZ sparked a crisis. 2 U.S. soldiers were hacked to death by North Korean forces for trying to trim branches obstructing visibility. The response? Something you wouldn't believe. The U.S. launched Operation Paul Bunyan, a massive show of strength. Within days, hundreds of American and South Korean soldiers, backed by tanks, B-52 bombers, and aircraft carriers, arrived at the DMZ. Armed to the teeth, they cut down that tree while jets patrolled overhead, ready for war. It was the ultimate power flex. But here's the twist. Despite the heavy arsenal, not a single bullet was fired. The mission ended in under an hour, and North Korea backed down. A tense moment over a simple tree, one that could have changed history forever.